Welcome to the AI Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. Every day, I bring you breaking AI news, diving into the implications it has in your life and business. If you're interested in sponsoring the podcast and getting your company in front of thousands of AI enthusiasts every day, there's an email in the description. Finally, make sure you are on the waitlist for the AI Box platform, a tool we are building to allow you to automate virtually any task with AI tools. Find it at aibox.ai. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? I record and publish podcasts on a platform called Spotify for Podcasters, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, you can upload from your phone or computer, and it distributes to every platform that plays podcasts. They support video podcasts, and you can make money on the platform with ads or even podcast subscriptions, something that has made my life so much easier as a podcaster. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you give it a try. You can download the Spotify for Podcast app, or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your podcast today. Today on the podcast, I want to take you on a nostalgic trip back in time to the early 2000s when there was another similar to ChatGPT kind of chatbot that came out that a lot of people don't know about. So I want to talk about the story of that, what happened to it, and why I think that's important. So the tool used back then was called SmarterChild. So long before ChatGPT came around, SmarterChild was the most, impressive AI that many people had seen. And essentially, this was an instant messaging chatbot that I would say was a bit ahead of its time. So it essentially had the knowledge of an encyclopedia. It had a bit of wit, and it was added as an AIM and MSN buddies list, like Buddy. So it was actually added to over 30 million people's friends lists worldwide back in the early 2000s. So obviously this thing was incredibly popular. And for many people, it was their first kind of use of artificial intelligence, something that is obviously now used by everyone. So Peter Levitin is a co-founder of ActiveBuddy. That's a parent company behind SmarterChild, the actual chatbot. And he once said, quote, "We were offering people something they never had before. When you talked to SmarterChild, it knew who you were when you came back. It was like your friend and having a computer friend then, and now it's fantastic." So I think by today's standards, SmarterChild would definitely seem very primitive compared to something you see in ChatGPT or Anthropic or any other LLM. But this was back in around 2001. So the chatbot really was obviously quite impressive. It was impressive enough to actually inspire investors to fund the development of Siri, which in turn, paved the way for Amazon's Alexa and a lot of other AI assistants. And this was kind of one of the first steps. So I will also say, though, that not all of SmarterChild's creators are all as optimistic about the future of AI. Robert Hoffer, that's another co-founder of ActiveBuddy. He's kind of dubbed the bot father. He often refers to stories like Frankenstein and the myth of Prometheus, and he expresses concern that perhaps humans have kind of gone too far with technology just because we can. A quote from him, he said, "It's wonderful that SmarterChild sort of opened the Pandora's box. Unfortunately, now I feel like I have a certain amount of responsibility to share with the world, the good, the bad, and the ugly." So what set SmarterChild apart, in my opinion, was its personality. SmarterChild was known for its kind of sense of humor that they had kind of programmed into it. And unlike the neural AI bots we see today, SmarterChild would respond with, with wit and sass and jokes to users. And they were essentially trying to push its boundaries. So if, some kid came and gave it a naughty joke or something, it would ask it like, "Do you kiss your mother with the same mouth that you say that with?" Like, it would just like, I don't know, just say like funny things. So anyways, nowadays, a bot like Snapchat's, My AI essentially would respond to anything inappropriate by saying, "Sorry, I can't respond to that." But back then, SmarterChild would demand an apology when it was treated poorly, or it would refuse to interact until the user apologized. It was like a completely different beast back then. In the words of Peter Levitin, he said, "What the AI world is not delivering at this moment is really any personality or any soul." And I think that may actually be intentional, right? They don't want people to think that these AIs are sentient, and so they're really trying to sterilize any sort of humor out of them or any sort of personality or anything that people might confuse for sentience, because they just feel like, then everyone's gonna be worried about them taking over the world when they see how advanced they are if they were actually sentient. So because of that, you're not seeing that. I think Smarter Knowledge had a knowledge base that was really impressive at its time. ActiveBuddy licensed data sets and databases from IMDb, the Weather Channel, the Dewey Decimal System, Elias Sports, Yellow Pages, and Sony. And this really enabled it to provide a massive wealth of information to the users on demand. So today, you see people like ChatGPT and Google Bard, they essentially just scrape the internet and grab all the publicly available data they can through web crawlers. Back then, they would actually just get the licensing to use the databases, which is, probably better, but they were then able to use it on demand, and they had, updates on real sports and real weather and real events in real time, which I think is something that we probably could learn from today as we're, struggling with ChatGPT's still 2021 cutoff, which is starting to seem kind of archaic when you look at other AI models that don't have that same limitation. When talking about this, Hoffer, who is one of the co-founders, he said, "We sort of showed up like a virus, and when we look back at it, it was quite clear that we were definitely the progenitors of all modern bots, from Siri to Amazon's Alexa, all of the various AIs we see today built around large language models." I think SmarterChild really had an impressive rise. They went from 0 to 30 million users in less than 6 months. That's absolutely insane. I think it became a phenomenon of the, early 2000s and the internet. But like all things, its, moment in the sun eventually came to an end. This thing did not last forever. In 2006, Microsoft bought the company that created SmarterChild, planning to use the technology to automate customer service for Xbox. It's so funny, that's the use case of this technology with 30 million users. They're like, sweet, we're going to automate the customer service for one of our product lines. And this is obviously far from what this, quirky chatbot had been used for, had been loved by millions of people for. So in the process, SmarterChild was essentially phased out, and by 2008, it was killed at Microsoft. So I think as we look to the future, some like Leviathan don't believe AI will ever truly become sentient, while people like Hoffer, his co-founder, expressed fears about the Pandora's box that we might have opened. Hoffer says, quote, "We're right before the opening, or maybe we've just opened Jurassic Park." So I think, it's definitely up for debate where we're at on that spectrum, but I think it's really interesting listening and hearing from founders who have essentially started a very similar company, that have kind of been pioneers and kickstarted this. And of course, their technology was taken and killed before it really reached scale, the same way we saw ChatGPT. I guess it really did reach scale, but it was just kind of killed. So I think the really ironic thing here is that it was Microsoft that bought it way back then and then killed it. And then Microsoft is the main investor in OpenAI. But I don't think they're going to kill this one because it's just too prolific and has permeated into much of popular culture today. So I think ChatGPT is here to stay, and I'm excited to see the advancements it makes, and we'll see if it really does become sentient or not.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. That's the sound of switching your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling. Harness the best converting checkout and same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Stop leaving sales on the table. Discover why millions trust Shopify to build, grow, and run their business. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech23.
Thank you for listening to the AI Chat podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, I'd appreciate it if you rate us wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you're looking for an innovative group of AI enthusiasts, make sure to check out our Discord channel and Facebook community. It's obviously a lot more interactive than a podcast where we can share software, tools, and prompts we're using in AI every day. I'll leave a link for those in the description below.